well, okay, I couldn't tell if I started or not. Alright, so where I left off yesterday was I was fiddling around with Elasticsearch in Paw here. I finally figured out how to get the queries going. Turns out that I was likely following old API. So instead, I'm just doing a generic get all, or at least try to match all and get as many results back as possible, up to 20. I'm just kind of testing this. I kind of set this up before I even started, so I'm just kind of testing it to see how well this works. It appears to be working quite well. So, okay, so with that, I think it's about time I start implementing all of my all of these queries into curl into the application, the IRC bot. The problems I need to solve for are JSON, curl, because curl is just a generic library, and it has a lot of API built into it that's not super easy to work with. So I may try to abstract that out and try to make a generic-ish interface for Elasticsearch specifically, so that way I have an easier time querying things. Give me a second. I have to shoo off my cat. I don't know what it is, but cats always have this tendency to know when you're doing something, and then they'll just fuck with you the whole time while you're trying to do it. Those little assholes. Okay, so where was I? Right, so tonight, really what I'm going to be doing is putting in an abstract, well, not super abstract, but I'm going to abstract out the curl a little bit and implement a nice little interface for me to execute these commands. Mostly the create index and insert record is what I'm going to be most interested in. Probably insert record more so than anything. I'm not entirely sure yet on how to create an index if not already exist sort of deal in Elasticsearch, but I'm willing to bet that even though if I run this command again, I wonder what the bad request is. Bad request. I wonder if that bad request just means that it's already created. That I don't know. But if I query it all again, I should see at least 5 records, which I do have a hit of 5 records. So I guess just calling create multiple times doesn't do much for the index. So I might add some sort of interface for that. So whenever this application starts, if there's an Elasticsearch index that or Elasticsearch server that's up and running, go ahead and create my index for it. So that way I don't have to worry about it. And then go ahead and insert records. And the query is just going to be for mainly Kibana, maybe, or maybe, yeah, or some other sort of interface to look at the results from this bot. But we're just going to keep this for testing purposes, so I'm going to keep paw up just for that. Also, provide me enough information to build out my API. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and get that going. So first, what I need is a header file for this interface. I'll just call it Elasticsearch. Go ahead and create that. I could try to find a library on my own, but when I looked on Google yesterday, it didn't really seem like that there was a whole lot out there. Especially for C, it didn't really seem like that there were any clients for it. Ironically, there was one for, or not ironically, but expectedly, there was one for PHP and various other languages, but surprisingly, there was one for Perl, at least from Elasticsearch's default documentation, or yeah, from their actual documentation site. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But So some of the things I need for this are, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a bool. So create index if not exist. Elasticsearch create index if not exist. That's kind of lengthy, but for right now, all I'm trying to do is just kind of define my interface that I want to use for this application. So then I'm going to, so the reason why I'm having a return bool is in case it, it's either going to return true on success or false on failure. So that's that. Then I'm going to need some sort of insert, so I'm going to do another bool, Elasticsearch insert. Then what I want is a connect, possibly, so Elasticsearch connect, and then bool Elasticsearch disconnect. I feel like this is a pretty simplified API. Since I'm not doing any querying of anything, I don't really need to worry about returning anything. But I do need to set up my Elasticsearch, so I'm going to go ahead and create a Elasticsearch struct forward declaration, and then struct elastic allocate Elasticsearch. That might be good enough, and then void deallocate Elasticsearch with the struct of Elasticsearch. Well, pointer. I'll just call it search. All right. Call that deallocate. I have some comments here actually. Let's go ahead and read those real quick. This is the content I need. All other languages need to be outlawed. Nice. I don't know about outlawed all other languages. They all serve a purpose. Anyway, deallocate. So this is the common pattern I've been following. Is just allocate, deallocate. I'm going to connect, disconnect, create an index if not exist, and then do an insert. I might need to do something about a type because we do need to create that type mapping, but I don't exactly know how I'm going to translate that from a struct, so to speak, to JSON. I'm probably going to find some sort of JSON library at some point to handle that for me. Definitely don't want to deal with it myself. So let's go ahead and do struct Elasticsearch pointer search. I'm just going to copy and paste this all over the place. Okay. Once again, this is probably going to accept some sort of JSON. I'm going to need to think about that at some point. Disconnect, connect, Elasticsearch, allocate. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce a dependency on curl here, just so that whoever's using this library needs to know that, well, specifically me, needs to know that curl is a dependency of it. I actually got into a little bit of a discussion with someone on Slack about this, and he seems to agree with me that he likes the approach of forward declarations and introduces minimally as possible dependencies and header files as possible. So I'm just going to continue doing that. Okay, so go ahead and copy this and go into my... Oh, that's the header file. Did I not create the C file for this? I could have sworn I did. I guess not. Okay, we'll go ahead and do that. Yeah, I agree. Unfortunately, your username's in that green, so I'm having a hard time reading it. CEOAJ? Yeah, I agree with you. Let's see here. Add to target. Well, I definitely want to add this to targets, and this is not going to be a CPP file. This is going to be a C file. Astic search. Making sure my spelling's a-okay on that one. Go ahead and introduce the include for it. All right. And then at the top here, going to reintroduce curl. I don't really need to, but I'm going to anyway, just so I have an idea of what I really need in this file. And then copy those files over. Not the files, but functions over. And that's that. Go ahead and fill this out real quick. Actually, what I could do is this. Use my ADE to help me out. Do that in one fell swoop. Return true, because why not? Return null. Need to have an include for stdlib. So I can do my mallocs. Okay, that ought to do it for now on that. I'm going to make sure that it's in my target real quick. It looks like it is. I can remove that. Reload changes, and let's see if it builds. And it does. Cool. Okay, now comes the hard part. So, for starters, I'm just going to go ahead and create my structs. Or allocated at least to get somewhere. Because I'm going to need to think about how I'm going to handle the actual curl library. It's been yeah, nice job. Thanks for changing it. It's been a while since I've used the C version of the curl library, but I imagine it's exactly the same as it is in PHP. Just slight differences with how the response gets streamed back, but I don't really care about a response stream back with these functions. At least I just care about status code, so it should be a little bit more trivial for me to handle just some sort of curl head, or just to parse the header, sorry, of the HTTP response. So then I'm going to do size of struct elastic search not equal to null. Nope, I want it to equal null. Return null if it didn't allocate. Size of. Did I not name this right? I must have mistyped something. At least the parentheses match. Size of struct. Did I misspell it? Elasticsearch. Yeah, curl is an HTTP client. That is correct. Great. Misspellings. I gotta love them. Oh boy. File is too complex to perform context sensitive. Whatever. Gosh, where did I? Alright, well, when in doubt, I'm just going to go ahead and, well, those all match. Dang it, I hate when this happens. Did I not type malloc right? Size of, did I not do parentheses right? Oh my gosh. Let's look at other code. Let's make sure I'm doing it right. Oh, you know what? I wonder if... Oh, right. Okay. Wow, I'm an idiot. I realize what I'm doing wrong here. There, that fixes the problem. Okay, back to where I was going with this. All right, so I need to pull up the curl documentation here on the browser real quick. I forget what the website is, but I should just be, oh yeah, it's curl hack, yeah, HA. Don't let the domain fool you. You're not going to get hacked. Let's see here. All right, so I already have it included into my project here. I just need to remember how to use it. Maybe I need to click on this link. Click on that link. Okay, so these ones are the main ones that we're going to be using. But this doesn't tell me about how to get the file or the information back from the response, at least. Samples are always good. We can always open up those. The multi-interface interview. So the interesting thing about curl is that you can do concurrent request with it. I'm not going to do that. So I'm not going to worry about the multi-interface at all. But yeah, I think that's a good starting point. Wow. Oh, wow, I guess it does more than HTTP. Looks like it does FTP and others, among others, but we're going to be focusing on HTTP in my library, so let's look at an HTTP put. Yeah, so there is some sort of callback function pointer that I need to worry about that's going to, yeah, so this is where I'm going to be parsing and working with the actual data that comes back. So doesn't seem too bad. I guess I don't know if I'm not using Windows, so I don't know if I really need this, but I probably should look at that function. Oh, excuse me. I'm pretty sure the last time I've worked with curl, I've had to do that. In fact, I actually have source code I can actually look at. I have an incomplete project uploaded on my GitHub underneath API Puller. I long time ago was trying to accidentally over-architecting myself a streaming service that would hook into like Twitter or other things, and then try to stream the content back, and I could do something with it. So kind of similar to what this IRC bot is, as a matter of fact, except the IRC bot's meant to actually live on the IRC server. So let's see here. While this application was meant to live on the HTTP or socket or some other thing. But in my curl here, it looks like I kind of abstracted this out quite a bit into classes here. Yeah, I have no clue what I did. But I might use this for guidance, as a matter of fact, because this will help me with at least the curl options I might need to work with. So I had some custom response body writers I could just hook into this thing that would hook into that callback and do its own thing from a stream. But let's see here. Wow, I really did a number on this one. Okay, so I'm not going to go like balls to the wall with actually creating like some HTTP wrapper for curl. So I'm just going to keep it basic, but I definitely know that I can probably stick to some of these examples and be a-okay. Let's see here. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and get started with that. So resource cleanup is going to be key here. at least for me, so I need to be careful with how I do my allocations and deallocations. I think what I ought to do in my API for sure is on the deallocate, definitely close up any outstanding resources. So here I'm going to do my Elasticsearch disconnect and then pass in the search pointer into that. So then what I would do is I would then free up other things as needed. But in here, in the connect, okay, so here in the here's in this allocation, I don't know if I necessarily would want to do the global allocate thing here or not. I don't want to do it per instance. That doesn't make sense. I think I only need to do that global setup just once because it is a global init. I could do some scary stuff. So I could do static bool has init. Okay, and we're going to set that to false, make that a global variable, and in here if has curl init, then has not, sorry, then we're going to go ahead and init curl, was it global init, I don't know what that long flags is. Let's have a look at that documentation here. It might be helpful if the window will kind of be eaten up. Let's go ahead and do some of this stuff here. Sure, why not? Let's do global all for now. YOLO, only live once. Put that into brackets. Whoops. Couldn't see where my cursor went. Actually, I'm actually going to need to keep this file path thing open for myself because my microphone, I actually found my good one, so that's kind of taking up some screen space in front of me. So, and then I'm going to has curl init equal true. And then in the deallocate, well, I don't necessarily want to do that. Shoot. I definitely want to do it for the allocate. Like, if it doesn't already exist, go ahead and do it. But for deallocate, that's a little bit more tricky. I don't think I want to do that necessarily. So I'm going to go ahead and add another interface to this where... actually, you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do it on the deallocate too. I don't want people to have multiple instances of this Elasticsearch. No, maybe I do. No, okay, as an API developer, maybe not. Well, dang it, I'm falling into the engineering trap. I'm deciding what to do. It makes sense in the allocate, so that way I can allocate whenever. Yeah, I'm gonna make a match. This is probably better API. All right, so if has curl in it, and then we're going to deallocate that globally. I think it just says it's curl global cleanup. So curl global cleanup. Sweet. I think that's all I need to do. So the easy cleanup and the easy init stuff. So this is going to be instance specific also. But it's on. I'm only going to apply that on the actual connect and disconnect. So globally, when we allocate or deallocate, go ahead and kill it. And then on the connect, we're going to go ahead and actually init curl, and then we're going to kill it. So I'm going to need some sort of handler in my actual object here. So I think it's just of type curl. Yeah, it's going to be a curl pointer. So curl pointer curl. Okay, easy enough. So in the connect, whoops, in the connect, what we're going to do is we're going to do curl equal, well, not necessarily, it's going to be search curl equal curl easy init, oh boy, init, and when we do disconnect, what we want to do is we want to curl cleanup, not global, easy cleanup. Okay, yeah, easy cleanup, search, easy, no, just curl, sorry. Okay, so far so good. When we connect, we'll create an instance of it. When we disconnect, we'll kill it. When we create an object, we'll create one. When we kill it, we're going to actually kill it, but I might want to implement some sort of counter here. In case there's more than one instance. Yeah, maybe later. I'm gonna leave that note in there for myself. Okay, moving on. So I want to check to make sure that it actually exists. Otherwise, we need to return false. So if not search curl, go ahead and return false. Now, the thing about this is that oops, I need to move the disconnect up first. I wanted to disconnect before it disconnected session before it tries to kill it globally. Let's see here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up some defaults. Now, I think, well, before I get ahead of myself, just looking at this function here, this should return or set some sort of error if there's something that went wrong. Okay, if you're not already. All right. Oh, you were strongly advised not to use this automatic behavior by calling curl global init yourself. Ugh. Okay, so it just returns null if something went wrong. Okay, I thought for a moment that this might actually return some sort of an error. Or at least put something that I can grab an error from, but that's not necessarily true. Let me look at this function real quick. I already had it open. Oops. I don't know if I should use it. Okay. It's not thread safe. Okay, we need to be careful about using this in a threaded environment. You must not call it when any other thread in the program is sharing the same memory. So this means I have to have delayed allocation of this after I've already created a thread, probably. Well, I mean, it should be all right as long as I don't use curl in other threads. Okay. This is some scary stuff. Non-zero, something went wrong, and you cannot use the other curl functions. Okay, so I need to check for that. If or greater than 0. Okay, so I'm going to do some interesting practice here. I am a fan of go-to. So that way I can do some cleanup. But I need to return, yeah, so I'm going to create a label. Whoops, error. And then I'm going to call free up the search and then return null. And this is, now some people don't agree with this pattern at all. Because I guess people don't like, I mean, outside of C, it really doesn't have that many good use cases, I would argue. Because in a typical application, you wouldn't really necessarily want to break control flow like this. And, you know, a lot of languages out there are all not necessarily compiled in the sense that, you know, C turns into assembly, turns into binary, but rather C#, for instance, turns into .NET's intermediate language, which is then ran by a virtual machine. So therefore, go-to statements don't exist in C# because memory is managed for you. You don't really need to do all that much cleanup. And if you do need to do cleanup of any sort of resources, there's keywords and API available in that language to do so. But in languages like C, it becomes cumbersome to do cleanup when you have things like this where you're trying to check for errors. It makes it very difficult. So I'm going to leave that as it is and use a go-to. Y'all can hate me. I don't care. Anyway, moving on. So this is good that I'm actually reading these functions. Want to make sure we do this right. Curl is a very proper it's a very proper C library. Okay, I'm going to ignore the read function for now. That's what's going to be important for actually grabbing information out of the response. So these are some of the options I'm going to want to look out for. So, okay, at this point, I think I'm pretty much good to go. Really, this Elasticsearch is only going to contain a pointer handler to curl. I'm also going to have it contain some sort of pointer to our read and do other things, but for now, it's just going to be curl. So we're going to establish a connection. Then we're going to disconnect, and then here we're actually going to perform our basic functions. But before that, on the connect, I want to supply a URL to hit. So we're going to do curl easy set opt. I don't know the difference between these two, but we'll just go with that one, or curl easy. I don't know which one's which. They seem the same to me. Except this actually looks like some sort of macro. And it is. Okay, perfect. Which, okay. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and set the URL. So we're going to set the, we're going to grab the handle, and then we're going to set the URL to curl, I think it's opt. Let's just see what autocomplete. Oh, it's curl opt, and then URL, and then I'm going to pass in the URL. I think that's what I need to do. Let's double check here. I don't know if URL's yeah, it's a chart pointer, so that should work. Okay. Error. What do we have? Conflicting types for. What does that mean? Oh, because my header file. I forgot to add that API in there. So when we do our search, we're going to connect to chart pointer of URL. Let's see. What else we got? I'm not going to worry about put. So put's going to be for something different. We're going to be using the puts and the gets in the below functions that actually interact with Elasticsearch. I'm not going to deal with any file stuff. I don't know why this example has to be specifically file, but okay. So then what we're all really going to be concerned about. Okay, so it looks like I'm all set up and ready to go, honestly. Other than the actual callback, it seems like we're good to go. The question is how do I get information from the callback back into these functions? I think I'm going to do some evil magic with the actual, for all intents and purposes, instance variable here. I'm going to define a function pointer out here, or a function that's going to be passed in for the function pointer. And then I'm going to I'm going to pass in the instance of this and then write to that, and then from here in these functions after the fact I can read from it and do something. I'm actually going to keep this as a very synchronous operation, meaning I'm not going to try to work with promises that you would typically find in like JavaScript or something like that. I know C# has the await an async syntax for dealing with promises, and so does JavaScript's new EJS or whatever the hell version it's at now, 20 whatever the fuck. With that said, I don't know if I need a file pointer open though. That's the tricky bit. I don't know if I need a file pointer open for this. I'm trying to remember in my pooler. I'm going to want to set this option, as a matter of fact. I forgot that. I always forget about, even when doing web development, I always forget about that stupid function, the follow URL. Super important, because you never know how many hoops you have to jump through sometimes. I believe my cat is knocking a whole bunch of shit down outside, but she is probably pissed at me that I am not petting her right now. So we're going to keep the follow location on. No progress. I forgot what that does. I need to Google that. It's probably something useful in order for me to want to use it. Switch off the progress meter. Okay, I definitely want that off because I don't care for that to be in my output. Set opt search curl opt. What was it called? I already forget. No progress. 1L. No progress. 1L. I don't know why it has to be a long. Whatever. Another option came about up here too, for nobody. As I mentioned before, this interface is sole purpose at the moment. Like, I could always refactor this out later if I ever intend to use this in other projects. However, the sole purpose of Elasticsearch for me right now is to literally look at the responses. All I care about with this IRC bot is whether or not a record got inserted into it, whether or not the index was created. So I'm going to set curl nobody on, so I don't have to do it in both places. I could always disable it and reset it later on, I guess. That's the beauty of these little flags here. But nobody, right? Nobody. And I forgot if that needs to be something different. I guess it's nobody. Oh, it's another long. I should have known. 1L. Cool, we'll just turn it on. So that's what the 1L means. Okay, so no body, no progress. We're going to follow through in case I have some crazy ass URL thing going on where it does 301 redirects. I don't think I have any of that going on. I don't think Elasticsearch is doing any of that. Yeah, I think everything was a-okay. It doesn't give me any indication that there were any hops. So that's good. Okay. So I'm going to leave that. Now, what do I do if I try to call disconnect before I try to connect? That is a good question. I can always default curl to be null. So, oh boy, curl equal null. And then I can check for that. Early termination. Sorry, I'm going to do this the other way around. Whoops. All right. So if it's null, just going to go ahead and return false. Like, it's not going to connect if it's not there. This is fine. This is fine here. Now, this is kind of misleading. Elasticsearch connect. This should imply that I'm able to connect, so to speak. But really, what matters is, do these fail? These will tell us if it could actually connect. What I could do is, though, I could figure out some way to ping the server first to make sure that it's on and readily available. If not, set some error flags within the application, and I can know for sure. I'll add that as a future to do. Okay. All right. Disconnect. Let's just think through this. Okay, we should be good to go. Now what I want to do here in these functions is at least check for its existence. Return false. Let's make sure it just does that. This is lame. Doesn't really explain to a user why this failed, but I don't care. I'm the only one using it right now. Just add the to-dos later. Okay, so search, create, disconnect. Everything is starting to look pretty good right now, as a matter of fact. So I'm just going to go ahead and finish out setting up curl, and then I can worry about JSON stuff and the actual endpoints. So looking at it again, let's see here. It looks like we need the URL to be the index and the document. And it's a post. So we're going to do this. Curl set opt search curl curl opt, if I can spell it, it's a post, cool. And then I need to set it to 1L most likely, and then I need a curl easy set opt later for the post fields. Where we're actually going to pass in the data into that. Let me look at this API real quick just to make sure that post is indeed a-okay. Man, this site, I'll tell you what, like the documentation is just amazing. It's super like easy to navigate, to figure out what you need. I just can't speak more highly of it. It has examples. It's great. You don't really see this a lot. Okay, so just to enable it, I'm going to do 1L, and then I'm going to then pass in the post fields as I need them. Okay, but I need to adjust the URL. So in my API, I need to create an index, which is going to be the char pointer index name. Well, I could simplify this and create it once per document. Or I can just call this whenever with the same instance. Yeah, I think I'll stick with that. And then char document name. All right. And then all my, how do I do this? Usually I will just Command A, Command Shift L. No, that is not the right thing to do. Is it just Control Shift L? Oh boy, I don't remember. My IDE says to go up to refactor, or no, code, reformat code, Command Shift L. Well, I had it right the first time. Okay. It does not want to change it. Odd, because it wanted to put it to Google's setup the last time I ran this. I wonder, I don't think I ran this this function since the last time or since I updated it yesterday. Okay, well, whatever. It's cool. So I'm going to have the index name and document name, and then I'm going to append that to the now I could have just used the refactor tool here in CLine, but I'm bad about that. Just going to go ahead ahead and nudge this over. Okay, that was a bad idea. All right, never mind. I'm not going to deal with that now. So we're going to have the. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to append to the to the URL string. This is what I hate about C. We have to create copies. Then we have to concatenate them. We have to get the string length. It's just a huge, gigantic mess. The thing I hate most about C is its lack of a decent string API in stdlib. Yeah, good point. Strings. You hate working with strings in C because you need to use functions instead of operators. Yeah, that's very true. Lots of functions. But we'll make it easy on myself. Just a little bit easier. Include string.h. It's just slightly easier. Oh god. Okay, so okay. I hate to do this every single time, but whatever. All right, let's start the. Let's just get it over with. Size t index length, and then I'm going to also call this. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to do. I was going to do the reallocate, and yeah, exactly. Just like that. Index document len. So I have to get the length. Now I could pass it into the function, but I don't want to do that with my API. So we're going to get the length of that. And then do document name length equals strlen in document name length. I'm going to do a little shortcut here and do a URL. We're going to store the URL. Yeah. COAJ, you're my favorite. That's interesting. So you do a lot of operating system layer stuff, like what kernel drivers, things like that, or do you like work on Linux at all? I'd be really curious to know if that's what you do. I'm going to cheat. I'm going to save a thing for a URL, and then I'm going to have the size of the URL so we can always refer back to it later. Nice. Yeah, I've actually started trying to do Linux myself, as a matter of fact. Yeah. I mean, that's pretty crazy. I'm super fascinated by that world. So, yeah, I would love to do embedded systems someday too, but I just lack the degree of being an electrical engineer. So, so I'm kind of just taking it as I go. Anyway, I need to save the the URL in here, and then I'm going to save the size of it. URL length is going to equal strlen of URL. I'm not going to bother with doing null checks here, specifically because I'm a precondition sort of guy. Like, you just have to assume that things are going to break if you pass a null in there. That's my philosophy, so I'm going to stick to it. Probably not the best, but eh. Alright, so I'm going to create a copy of that URL, but I did the copy incorrectly. I need to actually try to... this brings up an interesting question. If the URL is allocated outside of this to a pointer, I don't want I don't want this API to be responsible for deallocating it. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go ahead and copy it, whether it's from the stack or not, and then copy it onto this URL here, and then that should be a-okay. Market, yeah. Okay, let me catch up on the comments real quick. Yeah, or implement basic operating systems functions like buffer schedules. Cool. Yeah, dealing with physical interrupts and exceptions. Oh yeah, see, I've never dealt with interrupts before. I've actually bought an Arduino to try to kind of toy with it. That was my next logical step, was to work with interrupts so I can get my COM port to like put information, well, to kind of like get information from the Arduino to and from it through that COM port. Right now it's polling for text for me to write to it, and I hate polling, so interrupts are the way to go. Yeah, null checks, yeah, definitely. Okay, anyway, as I was saying, I'm going to get the length first, and then I'm going to go ahead and copy it. So search URL is going to equal a char pointer, and then malloc it to the size of char times the search URL length, and then that's going to be our copy. So I'm going to do strcpy, or where is it? There it is. Destination is going to be the search URL, and then the, oh wait, no, destination? No, this should be the source. Destination should be here, and then the source would be the URL. Then what's the last one? The length of it. So search URL length. Oh no, did I do this wrong? Too many arguments for function. Expected 3, have 4. Well, where's the fourth? Destination, so str copy. Oh boy. Damn it. Too many arguments to function call. Okay, you know what? Screw it. Stack Overflow time. I always forget how this function operates because I hate doing strings that much. I rarely use it. Oh, you know what it is? I know what I'm doing wrong. It's strn copy. That's what I meant to write. That's it. That's what I meant to write. Okay, so we're going to get this string length with strlen, allocate a new char array for that, and then copy it over. If the URL is null, then I will do a null check here. And then going to go ahead and return false. I have nothing allocated beforehand except for the easy int, so I might want to try to clean that up. Curl, actually, yeah, curl easy cleanup, and then search curl. So we're going to do some cleanup if that string doesn't get allocated. I want to make sure that that string gets allocated, and then we can move along. And then I'm going to just use the search URL here, and then in my deallocate, cleanup, and then we're going to free the URL. Alright, so that's step one. Step one is creating a copy of that URL. Step two, we're going to do similar things with this, except I'm not going to worry about, what I'm going to do this time, I'm not going to store the index or the document whatsoever. That's going to be on a per function basis. As a matter of fact, what I might end up doing is I might create a little function that's going to handle this for me, and then return a pointer to it, and then free it. So I think I'll do just that. Go ahead and we'll do char pointer append. Oh, I forgot the static. append document index document, and then we're going to pass in the struct for, and then char pointer, the index, and the char pointer document. I'm going to go ahead and forward declare that up there, or create the prototype, define it down here. And then we're going to do all this cool jazz here, which is going to then return that that new URL for me. So then I don't have to, all I have to worry about is just cleaning it up in this function call here. Okay. Whatever. I'm going to actually simplify this because I know what this actually means. So I'm just going to go ahead and change that there. Index is going to be document, and yeah, index document, document lane, index lane. Okay, cool. I'm going to go ahead and do that. Change that to index. And the sole purpose of this will just be to create that string for me. The nice thing about Elasticsearch, I found out right before even doing this Twitch stream, is that even for its, I know this is a little side tangent, but even for its GET request, it's not using query strings. So that's really nice in this instance, because now I don't have to append query strings to that either. Though I'm pretty sure curl has a nice little API for that. It's been a while, so it might handle that for me if I pass it in post fields, but just note that it is kind of a pain in the ass for me to try to do all this appending stuff. The sad thing is I am going to have to append more strings to the base URL anyway. But I'm going to cheat a little bit. In fact, I might actually help myself out by creating another type. We'll call this str helper. I've used this pattern elsewhere. In my, not message bus, but in my, I wonder if I did in my Lexer. No, message parser. Oh yeah, iMessage, or sorry, not iMessage. Sorry, I've been thinking about C# today a lot. Right, so I did a similar thing here. I may have made a note in my YouTube channel in another video that I was going to try to extract that out later to do something else. I'm going to check my time real quick. I only have about an hour to do this. And I am over my hour. Okay, that's all I have for today. Sorry, I know. I should have gotten this into a more of a built state, which means I will not be putting this up on GitHub as soon as humanly possible, unless I do, well, I can actually try to make sure that this is building. Okay, it is not building. Okay, ooh, maybe it didn't link. It should have, okay, this is not building. Okay, I will deal with all these crazy build errors tonight or tomorrow, and I like I said in other videos, I will promise to have the code up on GitHub. I promise, I promise, I promise. I know I've been very reluctant to do so far, but anyway, that's all I have for tonight. You can always find these videos. I believe only recently I made it so that my Twitch stuff shows up here at the bottom, the social, GitHub, and YouTube. So by opening up this link, you can easily get to the playlist and videos of this whole series. And then GitHub, I will have my source on there at some point. Okay, well, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. I will probably be back on Wednesday or Tuesday, maybe, probably Wednesday. That's kind of the pattern I've been following. So, all right, that's all I got. Thank you, CEO AJ. You've been the best tonight. It's always glad. I'm always happy to find another C developer myself. It's really cool that you do embedded software. I'm trying to do Linux, so hopefully I can get a job doing that too. Hopefully, fingers crossed. All right, that's all I got. Thanks for watching. Oh, how do I close this? Oh, there we go.